tinfoil hat. Oh, what the fuck are you guys even talking about?
Global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them.
Welcome to Tinfoil Hat. We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Are you ready to get your mind blown?
Good morning, Swarm, and welcome to Tinfoil Hat. You know I am. You know I'm here to do. I'm here to
rock.
Join me as always, Xavier Guerrero, and on the one and twos, Jay Nice, Juicy Johnny, J Dog, Johnny Woodard, everybody. There we go, bro. There we go. Great show for today. We're very excited to have him back on. We have Owen Benjamin joining us. It is a love fest. It is a love fest. A lot of love on the show. Look how these old guys have grown up and matured, and we just love each other. It's a fun conversation. I hope you guys enjoy it. Real quick, I want you guys to go check out my dates. I got dates coming up. I need to take that down again. Flagstaff on the 21st. Oh, real quick. I forgot. Oh, yeah. Flagstaff on the 21st. And then Tucson on the 22nd, and then El Paso on the 23rd, and then Somerville at the end of the month. I'm doing 2 shows, a podcast with the Nephilim Death Squad guys and the Paranoid American. We're discussing just comedy and conspiracies and the Chaos Twins, and then I have stand-up show. You can get dates to both of those. Check that out, and then Plano's coming up. So that's it, guys. Check out everything. Enjoy the show. We have some lives. Johnny, real quick, one more time. Tinfoil Hat Live. We need you guys to check that out. We do it every Thursday. It is now available on YouTube and Rumble. What is that number, Johnny, real quick?
The number is 323-825-9010. You have 3 minutes. Maybe time yourself. Again, it's 323-825-9010. Call with your conspiracies, your crazy dreams, astral projection, government,
we're all about it, dude.
Weird government interactions, Men in Black, whatever. Bring it.
Insider trading. Come on, please. We need the money over here too.
And then every Thursday, I am live on Rumble at 3 p.m. Pacific with Doom Scrolling, which is I scour the internet for the whole week for the best short videos and conspiracies from TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter, and we do a little breakdown on them. So enjoy it. And enjoy this episode with Owen Benjamin.
Drink from the fountain.
All right, back by popular demand. You asked for him. You got him. Please welcome back the Big Beer, Owen Benjamin. How are you, Owen?
Dude, great to be here, Tripoli. Very, very pumped.
Thank you for coming. We greatly appreciate it. You look good.
I feel good, yeah. And I was you ever do those bags of vitamins at like those new health places where you go in and get, yeah, dude, they're fans of you guys. I was doing that a couple weeks ago because my buddy had lead poisoning. So he does all this chelation stuff. And this one woman was like, yeah, I hear you on Sam's podcast. And I'm like, yeah, I love Sam. Last time we fought about grab wars, but we're good. I've known him for like 18 years.
Dude, you know me longer than 18 years. I mean, it has to be early 2000s.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Oh my God, it's 2024 already.
Yeah, we're old.
Why did we make that breakdancing sketch? Was that like 2003?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's called Break Her Down. If you can find it on the internet.
Oh God,
it's a classic. One guy's dead. It was great. Ramsey, we miss you and your
Ramsey Moore. Ramsey Moore.
So Owen, what is new? I watch you on the internet. You're bringing up some interesting points all the time. Is there anything you want to promote? Get it out of the way.
Promote. Well, I got that new special I taped on the land that we got called Noble Savage. So that's at owenbenjamin.com. I usually have it pinned on my Twitter or it's on Rumble and stuff like that. I also have, I'm in the middle of March Gladness because February I was going pretty hard at the blacks for Black History, comedically, of course. But I just, and then the month before I was going hard at the subcontinent of India. So I just really wanted to be really positive. And so now I'm just trying to be really nice, and I'm trying to not assume intent. I'm trying to really, because I can get, you know me, I can get a little paranoid. And so I'm trying to just assume that people are good and I just don't understand. Like, and it really is helping me a lot.
Yeah, I understand what you're talking about. You know, I was on the redheaded libertarians Twitter space yesterday, and it was like, you know, it's like, what is the point of trying to wake up everybody and quote unquote save everybody if you're going to be somewhat miserable in it? And just, it's just high vibrational, low vibrational stuff. And it's just like, I just really don't care. I like, I'm really in the, you know, like I was telling her, it's like there's the saying, like, don't worry about the sheep, wake up the sleeping lions. I'm like, I don't even care about the sleeping lions. I like, they'll say if they're meant to wake up, they'll wake up. And that's kind of where I am. I'm slowly but surely figuring out how much I need Twitter right now. Because I just feel like I wake up and it's just like, well, time to go to war. And I'm just trying to like fight this noble fight. And at the end of the day, it really does nothing.
I like your Twitter. I think it's good. You usually say like some relatively nice things for the truther world. Yeah, and I'm starting to like the sheep. I mean, I like wool, you know.
Yeah, I get that, and I respect that. But it's like, what is the energy you're putting out? What's it doing to you when you're like getting lost and all that stuff? For as much as we wake people up all the time, it's like, what does that do? I think the best thing we've done is just have them kind of detach from all the chaos out there. And that's kind of what the best we can do, right? I mean, like, I think that is the goal, is like to get people to wake up and then to get them to understand that there's these sorcerers out there and they're committing sorcery, and they're going to get some people, and those who realize what they're doing aren't going to engage into it and pull themselves out. That's kind of like along the lines of what you've done, is like you've moved out there and you're kind of pulled yourself into this parallel economy and parallel system. And I think that's the best you could do.
Yeah, for me, I always focus on like personal battles because those are more manageable than the big ones. Like you know, like years ago when Trump wouldn't build a wall, I literally built a fence. And like that act, like just me building a fence,
Respect.
I felt great. I'm like, I can keep out a coyote. Like, oh, you mean the coyotes bringing people across the border? No, actual coyotes, like what I can control. And so my personal battles are the thing that I'm not looking for anymore, which caused me a lot of pain, is I don't need anyone to like apologize or say I was right before other people or anything like that, because that used to like torment me. And like, for example, the CDC, you know, the CDC is finally saying that that COVID was like the flu. And my response was like, it's great they see it. That's awesome. Where it's like my normal reaction would be like, where were you 5 years ago when I was kicked off Airbnb and you know, and so I'm just letting all that go. And because I did develop kind of a chip on my shoulder where like I got completely canceled in comedy for things that now everyone talks about and everyone knows is right. And so, you know, the pain I would feel is like, why won't anyone admit I was right? Or like, why won't people say they're sorry? And people have their own problems, and like, people aren't even thinking about me. You know, there was a slight self-obsession that I would get where I'm like, oh, they're doing the jokes I did 5 years ago and I was called evil, but like, they're just getting by. They're just, you know, paying their tab. Like, you know,
no,
so
I love that, Owen. And listen, again, I was on that Twitter space yesterday, and I gave you your flowers in that you were totally right about the N word, in terms of that people are more concerned about that than they actually are about like real world consequences and all, you know, crime on the streets. And, you know, you said something, it was, you know, you predicted it, and then we saw it happen in real time when I think it was in Philadelphia or New York. I forget what city it was, where This black guy stabbed a white man, and his girlfriend refused to announce to name what his color was because she didn't want to perpetrate racial stereotypes. And as soon as I saw, I go, oh, nailed that one right there, and you deserve your props for that. You know, I was discussing this with people about how I would do these. They would ask me to judge roast battles, and I would just watch all these like pedophile jokes happening to the point where people got tired of them and they didn't get a response anymore because it was kind of like, oh, ho hum. And then I'm like, I'll give $50 to anybody who says the N-word right now in the middle of a roast, and no one would do it. And, you know, we might have.
I'd be like, I'm like, I've been waiting years for someone to say that. I'd be like, nah, and then everybody would be like, oh.
And
yeah, man.
so
No,
you deserve that.
Yeah,
you deserve
totally.
the props for that.
Well, I mean, the irony is I literally agree with like Eazy-E. It's like my opinion isn't even based in quote unquote white supremacy. It's like intention versus, oh, can a word be bad? Can a gun be evil without intention? You know, my debate was always philosophical, and ironically, I've gotten more understanding of quote unquote like white privilege having kids that I homeschool. Like one of my kids, because it's not white, it's not about the color of your skin. It's just like access to certain types of education, nutrition. Because it's like one of my sons had like a serious speech impediment, and we got to have I got to have him get help with that, and he has great nutrition, and he's not mocked, and he has a mom with him all day, and we homeschool. Now he's doing great. And I was like, imagine if he was some inner city Philly kid, like he'd be called retarded. He'd be like, he's only drinking like grape drank. Like his life would go horribly bad. And so ironically, I'm starting to see that there are systemic issues. It's just not as color based. It's more like, even though it is disproportionately affects inner city, quote unquote, people of color, but it's more access to like, being told you're good, or nutrition is huge. I think a lot of the IQ situation is, people not getting nutrition when they're young. Like I think that it really stunts their brains. And so with the blessings I have with like, you know, we make our own butter. Like my place is like nutrition overload, well water, no vaccines, no fluoride, like, you know, goats, chickens, ducks. I mean, I have a peacock named Kevin, you know, I mean, my life is like a fantasy, you know? And so I see my kids thriving, but I've also seen their weaknesses where I'm like, if they didn't get the access that I have, I mean, they're shooting people at 14. Like I
agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
And I agree that, you know, I've come to this conclusion as being a father, and, you know, I have a child who's on the spectrum, and we're doing all we can to help her. You know, God bless you getting your kids to eat. These kids just don't listen to their parents right now. But, you know, I've been thinking a lot about what's going on, and this kind of, you know, we all know it's almost conspiracy 101, the government and what they did to the black community and all that stuff. And it's, you know, whether it's crazy drug laws or just completely hijacking the entertainment industry to push like low vibrational stuff on them. And, you know, when you're locking up all the dads for, you know, when the government is bringing in the coke and turning it into crack and then arresting you for buying the government crack, you know, that's done on purpose. And it does something to people, and it does something to men when we have in us this need and this drive to provide. Jason Whitlock had this guy, and I need to find the guy so I can give him credit for saying it. But men have three P's that we have to do. We have to procreate, provide, and protect. And if you're not doing that, and I do believe on a spiritual level that if you have kids that you aren't providing for, that can do something to you spiritually. Now, I'm very understanding that sometimes personalities can get in the way between the mother and the father, and it goes both ways. But if you have kids out there and you're not in their life, I think that does something to you spiritually, in my humble opinion.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And isn't it funny how it's called the PPP loan?
Yeah.
Like, I always think like they're trying to take the role of daddy. I tell that to women. I'm like, you can reject your protector as a man. Like, you can say, oh, I don't need a husband, blah, blah, but you're going to get that role filled. It's just going to be the media is going to tell you what to wear, and the government's going to put a check in your mailbox. And so you now have a husband. It's just like the devil, you know? And so, yeah, and this is the thing about the quote unquote Black community that I think they hopefully can understand is they might be right, but they still have to do it themselves. It's like, there's like a fine line between compassion, where it's like, yeah, that crack stuff in the 80s, you know, the great society and financially incentivizing men to leave, and the rap industry run by a Mossad honeypot. And, you know, I did the video Who Made Rap 6 years ago and was called an anti-Semite. You know, now these it's becoming mainstream that it's all the same guys, like, and some of them own private prisons. But like, the thing is, though, at the end of the day, you still got to be the one who gets out of it. Like, no one's going to help you. Like, kind of like, I'm not going to get an apology from like all the comics acting like Chappelle and Shane Gillis and all these guys are like these revolutionary anti-PC guys when I'm literally not allowed on Airbnb. Like, it's no one's job to apologize to me. And I wish them well. Like, I wish Chappelle well. I'm glad Shane Gillis was on SNL. It's like, it's the same with quote unquote the Black community. It's like, no one's gonna do it for you. And that's why I was doing all these bits about how I'm gonna grow my own cotton this year. Like, I'm already starting cotton plants, no joke. And I'm gonna pick the cotton, and I'm gonna like require Blacks to ask me permission to use the N-word, because I'm going to literally be picking my own cotton and singing songs all day outside with my buddies. You know, like good songs. And the thing about cotton picking that's so great is it's so light. Like, my ancestors, the Irish, had to pick potatoes, and they'd have to carry these big sacks. You get to pick cotton and carry like a little cloud around all day, singing church hymns, you know, and I'll do stuff like that. And I'm not doing that to demean. It's to like let go of the shackles of like self-perceived slavery, you know? And so that's what I think, like, that's my recommendation, because the devil doesn't hate, the system doesn't hate Blacks, it hates competition. And if I think that the quote unquote Black families were getting so competitive in the 50s and early 60s that they were nervous about it, because they're making more money. They're like buying real estate. The laws are changing. You know, after World War II, it's like, you can see Black prosperity increasing. They had a higher percentage of marriage than even some white areas, you know, like the whole no dad thing didn't used to be the thing. And then it just crashes. And I think that and they do that to quote unquote white people too, if they see it as
they're doing that now. That's like what you study. And then I want you to get back into your train of thought, but cool. You study like what they did to the indigenous on the reservations. They took that plan, brought it to the inner cities, and then they destroyed that. Now they're bringing it into rural America, flooding it with fentanyl.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, putting dads in jail. It's the exact same game plan used over and over to destroy the role of men, empower mothers, so that guys have no place. And now you're starting to see it. And then if you actually, I do believe this as I get more and more into Christianity, you know, and I study like, you know, Babel and what was going on there. And then I look at these giant cities and what's going on in these giant cities. It's all this. It's like, I don't think we're supposed to live in these giant cities. And these giant cities are just free range reservations where everybody thinks that they are, you know, free, but in reality, they're getting just drowned, if that's even a word, in drugs, alcohol, pornography, sex, and all that stuff. You really don't have as many options as you think you have. You just have the repeat of the option over and over again, which makes you think you have a bunch of options. Hey, guys, real quick, I want to tell you about one of our favorite sponsors on the show. You know them, you love them, we love them. Blue Chew. Let me tell you about this American company that makes American boners for American people. Let me tell you about it. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but in a chewable tablets at a fraction of the cost, okay? You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or whenever an opportunity arises, because when she says it's go time, you better go and take no time, okay? You can take them anytime, anywhere. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you receive your prescription within days. The best part, it's all done online, so there's no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew tablets are made in the USA, and prepared and shipped direct to your door in a discreet package. Bang. Or with a marching band, fireworks, bald eagles who are rock hard flying around singing the praises that someone's about to go to Pound Town. Everyone's loving Pound Town. Yeah, let's go. So here's what we need you to do. Blue Chew wants to help you have better sex. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. Chew it and do it. And we got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew for free when you use the promo code tinfoil at checkout. Just pay $5. That's BlueChew.com, promo code tinfoil, to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this podcast. Blue Chew, enjoy.
So wait up. You said they did it to the Native Americans. They did it to the blacks. Are they doing it to the Mexicans? You know,
no,
splitting
not yet.
Families, splitting the families, letting them in through the border. You don't think they're going after them for a while? I mean, splitting families, letting families in without moms, dads.
I think they're trying to encourage Latinos to change the fabric of the country. That's my personal opinion. They want to flip it just like they're doing in Europe. So they're encouraging that, but they will come for you eventually, because that's what they do. They build you up, and then they have you establish a system, and then they start to slowly but surely destroy you.
Yeah, it's farming, dude. It's like, it's hysterically like that. Me farming has opened my eyes to global politics in a way that's mind blowing. They don't have any preference for any race. That's the thing. And it's like, just like what you said, they'll bring in a new crop, you know, they'll breed and they'll be the labor, and they'll displace the entitlements, you know, the people that think they're owed something for going off the farm and taking the ticket and going into the city. And then they get ushered into a reservation, but it's all consent based. It's all like, this might be a little controversial, because I know a lot of your listeners probably are really into the crypto stuff. But I see a similarity between American Indian reservation cards and crypto behavior, because it's like, it's almost like crypto is for really smart, like smarter upper middle class guys to get dependent, because it's all about dependency. Like the minute you make that shift where it's like, this will sustain my family, this is all I need, I don't need to work, I got crypto coming in, and it's like, whoa, because then you just see people, they start not working. They start being like, you know, I can get a yacht. It doesn't matter the scale. Like the fractal is still the same. Like whether or not you're buying like you're on American Indian reservation buying a can of paint to huff, or you're like upper middle class buying a bottle of Hennessy, you know, whatever. It's still the same thing. It's like dependent free money that you didn't quote unquote earn. And then you indulge with it, then you get dependent, then you're a slave, then you do what they say. And it's like, that's why I have this like really intense aversion to anything free or anything that like, you know, like I don't like, I want to be able to like make my own energy production. Like I had a buddy on that's a nuclear physicist who pretty much figured out how to make small nuclear reactors. And I'm like, bro, you got to sell it to the Rothschilds or they're going to kill you.
Yeah, right. 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Give it away because they will kill 100%. I totally agree with that, man.
Yeah.
And you know, you've been right about a lot of stuff on your journey. And I think what happens is, and I've said this before, is like you don't want to be the first. You don't want to be the trailblazer because that trailblazer gets all the arrows. It's the people that come after you that tend to, you know, to be able to reap the rewards of your hard work, you know. And I just look around a lot. There's a lot of people talking about things that you and I have been talking about for a very long time. And it's what I call safe, dangerous versus dangerous, dangerous, right? It's like, you know, we were talking about Pizzagate and all that stuff. And when that came out, we were seen as crazy people. And, you know, oh, yeah, there's a giant pedophile ring running everywhere. Okay, whatever, blah, 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 blah. You know, and then it turns out there's not one, but multiple pedophile rings being ran by, whether it's Mossad or probably Mossad through P. Diddy as well. You know, now we know it's like almost every sector has some kind of blackmailing scheme going on. And now people are talking about it. And then it becomes safe dangerous, where it's dangerous to, like, you know, the secretary at the insurance agency. So these people will talk about it, but we know that's kind of already agreed upon. And that's just, I think you were just one of the first to do that. I've
So are
been
you. I mean, so are you, man. Like, you're a trailblazer too. I just think you have that Armenian ability to still like do business, and I don't. So I'm like, bring the arrows, and you're still cutting edge, but you're like, but I got to pay the bills, and we need a shield, and we got to talk to the warlord, and so I appreciate that. Like, it's like, because I'm a descendant of William Clark from Lewis and Clark. And so I don't know, it might be genetic. Like, he was like, over the mountain, you know, there's savages. Just, I don't mind it, man. It's like I had a chip on my shoulder until I looked around and I'm like, what the hell do I want? Like, do I feel slighted? I have 4 sons, a farm, no debt. I get to drop the hard end 80,000 times a day. Like, what the hell do I have? My buddies gave me a peacock. Like, I got kicked off my my 5th payment processor this month, and like, I built up unauthorized, and we had I was actually making some good money. They pulled the plug back to 0, so we have to get a new processor. And, you know, people start supporting through the PO box again. My buddies bring me a peacock. We got another processor we're working on. There's actually more industry now with payment alternatives. Like, it's way easier now than 5 years ago. It's like, because of bricks and because of, like, I'll shout out some crypto guys. Like, those guys at least think, how do we get around the beast? You know, I just worry about their gains. You know, I'm like, you're making 50,000% gains. Like, that's not hedging inflation. There's something going on there. Like, but I'm happy for people. But so, yeah, that's been my month. It was like,
and ultimately it gets back to digital, right? It's like everything
exactly.
is a digital, everything's a binary 0 and 1. And I don't care how deep you go. There is a choke point on the internet. There's gonna always be a choke point. At some point you have to dance. It's just the way it is. And I hope someday that they get to where you can just somehow jump on the internet without having to go through any of these platforms that can choke you out at the highest level. I mean, like, so many of these alternative platforms are on Amazon. It's just cheaper to run it on Amazon. And all Amazon has to do is one day going, nah, too much Owen Benjamin. Bang, and then you're no longer allowed to.
No, the choke points, and that's why I, like, people can say I sound paranoid, but it's not. Like, we have our own servers for unauthorized. Like, we don't trust Amazon cloud service, so we have our own physical servers. And then we had a great processor. It gets bought by a company in France. France passes a law about COVID vaccine discussion. They cancel us off the processor they bought, and so when people think I sound paranoid, I'm like, the Wallenbergs own the underwater cables. You think they're going to let you beat them with Bitcoin, like that, like you're using their cables, they're Odin's ravens, you know, like it. You want to talk about like, I don't know about like the quote unquote above the Jews, but like the infrastructure owners are a whole different ballgame.
No, that's
stuff,
my whole thing. And
yeah,
I'd love to get
yeah.
into you with that, but it's like my whole thing is like Zionist, communist, Marxist, Jesuits. I think they're all middle management motherfuckers.
Me too. Yeah, 100%.
There's a higher level, and they fund all those dudes, and that's why it's like, it's like, right now everybody's like, there's so much anti-Semitism on the internet, and I go, well, are you able to differentiate people's criticism of Israel and the IDF and what they're doing to the Palestinians from that? And then we take a look at what's in this, kitty litter box, and is that anti-Semitism? And then I go into, well, let's take a look at the top 3 standards of living in the world, in America. It goes Asians, which include Indians. Then you got Jews. Then you got whites. Well, if you take a look at comedy, like who gets teed off all the time? Out of those 4, it's 3 of them. So I'm like, it's not getting worse. It's just now it's allowed. That's my humble opinion. And this is just the way it is. And when you allow where were you when there was this anti-white movement on college campuses? You didn't do anything. Actually, you fought, you helped the flames get even bigger and bigger and bigger. And so that's why I'm like, you can't be a top 3 standard of living and also be a protected class. That's my opinion on the whole thing.
You'll laugh at this. Like some of the big Jews are actually like cool to me again because they realize, because
with Jews.
No, because they realize I am just making fun of them because of their behavior and like their nose. Like I don't actually blame evil on them. So it's like, so now there's this big movement where it's like, the Jew is why I suffer. And I'm just like, no, they're just whiny and annoying and hypocritical. And they have irritable bowel syndrome and they bitch constantly. And they're like, so you don't actually want to like kill them? I'm like, no. It's like, I'm annoyed by everybody. Like that's, and so then all these like dudes are now like writing to me like, hey man, like I like what you said, because like so many people are now like, a world without the Jew is a world without war. And I'm like, no. Evil splits a man's heart. It's like Solzhenitsyn said, the line between good and evil splits a man's heart. And so what I see out of the quote unquote merchant class is a lot of offers where it's like, hey, do you never want to think about, storage space? We have a cloud, but don't ever criticize, the fact we whack off all the time. Like they're just kind of like perverts,
No, I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. And
so that's why it's funny. Like I'm getting more accepted again without changing because the world got more like vicious. And I'm just, you remember my Grabbler mask that was so like controversial? Now people are like, oh, it's just like, it's just kind of like making fun of a leprechaun. Like you're just literally making fun of stuff. And I'm like, yes.
well, for me, man, it's just like when I kind of look at any group, right? I look at any group, most of the group is good people. And then you have this kind of at the top, this kind of like demonic, energy where it's like to get to the highest levels of power, they all have to be completely controlled. So that
they're like empty. Yeah. I call them deli Jews. Like the deli Jews are great. Like we all know
like the Freemasons are like that. Even like the Catholics are like that. Even the Muslims are like that. Like, it's like you go to, Mecca, they're walking around a black cube. So like a lot of criticism I see of Jews has been done to white people forever. And it's like when COVID came out and everyone was like, it's the Asians. And the Asians were like, oh, it's not us. It's the Chinese government. And I go, wow, now you know what it's like to be a white person on Twitter. Because most white people are like trying to just keep the lights on and pay their mortgage. And now you're making them pay and credit them for the things that super elites are doing. So I think at every level, at the base is really good people. And at the top is just this kind of demonic, satanic group of people that are just psychopaths who want money, power, and are willing to do anything to get it. And that's why when, I had somebody on Twitter like, oh, those forget what was it? The those extremists, Jews. And I go, well, it's like if I go, Islamic jihadists who want Sharia law, and we'll get into that. I'd like to have a discussion with you on that. But are want to change their way of life. That's pretty dangerous. Yeah, they're crazy people. I go, if the belief is extremist fundamentalist Christians, okay, who boycott gay funerals are dangerous people. And we could get into that, whether that was real or not. That's pretty dangerous. And they were like, yeah, that's so dangerous. But I go, if Talmud Zionist Jews, think you're cattle and it's okay to have sex with any non-Jew under 9, that's pretty crazy, right? Oh, you're anti-Semitic. And that's my whole thing. It's just like, there is this concentration at the top of some dangerous ideals that people just don't want to talk about, and you're never going to solve the problem if you don't want to discuss the root of the problem, and that is extremists that have been manipulated by these very powerful people that we were just talking about at the very, 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 very top.
Yeah, totally. And it's based on our consent and our ability to think properly, because at the very top, yeah, you have some hollowed out dudes that are like super trauma programmed to like constantly seek control and farm people. But old Jake Rothschild, it's like, if you don't consent to them, nothing happens. If you don't fly his F-16s, like they just sit there, And so, it's kind of funny about what you're saying about the Chinese, because when they're like, oh, it's not a virus. And then meanwhile, I'm like, no one's proven viruses exist. And they're like, you're schizophrenic.
I agree. It's like the emperor's new clothes of disease. And all you're saying is like, hey, it's really nothing there. And they lose their minds. They lose their minds because they'd rather live in a state of fear than like be free. It's like people would rather have safety over freedom. And that's so true. So it's like, I talk about it all the time. I'm like, prove to me viruses exist. And people think I'm a crazy person. And like, you go on certain shows, you say that, people look at you like a crazy person because, I live in LA still. I'd love to get out of here. But, everybody, like, I'm doing a lot of spiritual stuff in my act now. And, there's some people who think I'm a crazy person. And just like the atheists who show me an atheist, I'll show you somebody who had incredible trauma in their life and they want to blame God for that. But they're up there and they think I'm a crazy. Oh, prove to me God exists. No, prove to me a vaccine works. Prove to me that there's a virus. You have faith too. It's called science. That's your religion. You just believe people that just tell you something because they wear a lab coat and you don't do any research into whether it's real or not. Yeah, so I totally agree with you on the whole virus stuff.
Yeah, because I'm a behavior guy. So like I saw science as a religion in like 2015. I'm like, the lab coats are the priest robes. Veganism is kosher eating. Big Bang is Genesis. I was just going through the whole thing and I'm like, and it's inverted. And I think this is a funny theory that your audience may appreciate. But I think great spells that work have to be based somewhere in reality. So the Big Bang, I think it's when your parents bang. So think about it. So the Big Bang,
that, dude.
No, but think about it. It's the whole story of evolution is the story of you. So it's like, because I minored in evolution in college briefly because I thought it was interesting. So they said it's primordial, because I don't believe in that at all now. I don't think I'm descended from like retarded space monkeys, but it's like, so primordial ooze, which is, cum.
Yeah.
And then you have the single cell organism, right? After a lightning strike, which is the zinc flash, Big Bang, single cell organism in the sea, in the ocean, the womb, and then multi-cell, then it looks like a tadpole, then it looks like a monkey, and then you're born. So Big Bang is true. It's just 10 months long, The Big Bang, boom, single cell, multi-cell, tadpole, fish, monkey, born. And so that's why the spells are always mimics. It's always like an inversion that like, it's like a mimic of reality, like the iCloud, Ethernet. They even use the same language. You know,
Totally right.
So
dude.
would you say the same thing like when people say like assimilation? Would you say that's God? When people talk, oh, there's a creator, that's still God, right? In a way, when you're like, oh, I believe in simulation theory, I'm like, well, it's still kind of God. There's still a creator of the
Somebody has to
simulation.
create the
yeah, exactly. Simulation theory is interesting. It's like it's exactly the belief in God. You're just adding silicone or like tech. Yeah, it's just all language. That's why I was the N-word pioneer, because like
Congratulations.
yeah, anytime. Because oh dude, I got a funny story about that with Ye with Kanye West. It's really funny. But because it's about intention. Like, what is it? So I told Ye once, I was like, because he said N-word on a phone call, and I wanted to make sure he knows.
Wait. Can you were on the phone with Kanye
Yeah,
West?
Owen wrote jokes for Kanye.
Yeah, like when he was on Alex Jones, he was referencing. I wrote a bunch of jokes for him to make fun of Ben Shapiro, and then he called out Dave Chappelle stealing my joke, and then Black Twitter was all just, I'm on the cover of like World Star, and I'm like milking a goat. It's hysterical because like
I had no idea about this. That's amazing.
Yeah, so Ye gets banned, dude.
Oh,
yeah, so Ye gets banned by the Jays, and one of his friends is like, "You got to talk to Owen Benjamin. He's the only one who survived it." And so we start talking on the phone, dude. He's calling me like 5 times a day. I'm giving him advice. He loves my humor. We're like riffing. And I was the one who sent him his documentary guy to film it. And they're like, come down and be in this documentary. We're thinking about doing a sketch show. And you get a kick out of this. I'm like, no, I don't go to LA. And they're like, no, like it's with Ye. It's like the most famous black man in the world. And he's like, yo, we're going to do like these sketches. And I'm like, dude, I got to milk cows and stuff. Like, I'm not fronting. Like I'm actually like this. And so I'm like, but I'll talk to you whenever you want. So I'm like punching up his jokes and all this. And so he says N-word, and I make sure, I don't know where this is going, but for respect, I won't say the word, but I always make sure people know I say it and I don't say N-word. And he was like, all right, he's feeling me out. And then I'm like, if you think about what the N-word is, I'm like, why isn't necrophilia more offensive than the other word? That means you bang a dead body. And this is when I'll always love Ye, man, because it's like, he's one of the only dudes that can like mind fuck me. And he goes, yeah, but it's not as bad as rape. And I go, wait, what? He goes, there's no victim in necrophilia because the corpse is dead. And I'm like, Jesus, yeah, what the fuck? And I'm just like, I was the one who was supposed to ask the provocative questions, man. And he's like, yeah, but if you think about it, necrophilia does not have a victim. And I'm like, okay, I'm tapping out. I'll just say N-word if you want. It's like when you get into that realm of like what is offensive, like you could say abandonment is more offensive than negra, or like it's from the word black in Portuguese. We're not, there was like a famous black kingdom with the same word in Ethiopia. Like I call bullshit on the spell, where if white people say, oh, I don't say that word, they can actually not face the reality of quote unquote white privilege. I think white privilege is just being able to think more than 15 seconds in the future. And I think a lot of black dudes have white privilege, but like, you know what I'm saying? It's like when you see people suffering and they're drinking grape drink and their dad's in prison, but you don't say the N-word. So it's like vaccines. It's like spiritual vaccination.
You're totally right. You're totally
it's like, oh, I took a shot, so I don't have to be scared this flu season. It's like, no. And the irony is like, I'm trying to break victim consciousness in quote unquote black people that actually would help them, which ironically is like, almost makes me like a race traitor. Cause I'm like, if somebody was actually wanted to hurt black people, what I'm doing is actually empowering. So ironically, you get it. It's like a whole maze.
No, it's basically this thing where we see Charles Barkley, who is known as this guy that is like, oh man, he'll say whatever he wants. Yeah, because you allow him to say whatever he wants. You could get a ton of white guys on there to light it up just as bad, but because white women are uncomfortable with this, like with white guys telling the truth, and the only reason they're okay with black guys telling the truth is because the only thing worse than a politically incorrect joke is being called a racist, which is the worst thing you could tell a white woman is, oh, you're a racist. Oh my God, I can't believe it. So all of all of these rules of political correctness are just to make white women comfortable. And that's why there are so much fine print to it. That if it was a real rule, there would be a hard rule that, everyone could do this, everyone can't do that. But there's not. It's so much fine print. It's like, who just lights up Asians? Asians. Asians are 10 times worse in comedy to Asians than anything a guy from Vietnam or the Korean War could say. I mean, it's all derivatives of Margaret Cho anyways. But it's like, if you really thought that sentiment was bad, you would say something, but you don't, because, these super liberals have these words where it's like, oh, if you're part of that group, you could say it, but it's still the same thing. You're still saying the same
it's
thing.
Marxist theory. It's like,
100%.
Yeah. And so I won't just complain.
Demoralization. This is what it's all about. Demoralization.
Yeah, exactly. And then the idea of the oppressed and the oppressor, and only inside your group labeled by, and I just won't play their game, because I know I have faults. I mean, in the past, I was too much of a dick to you sometimes. And looking back, I was like, what the hell's wrong with me? So I have, I'm not going to say I'm this guy without faults, but one thing I know is I'm not a hateful guy. And I know thyself is so important. And I know that I don't look at a black dude and think like, oh, he's just an animal, blah, blah. I know that about myself. So it's like, they can't do that to me. Like, they can't be like, you're full of hate. And I'm like, well, I know I'm not. So I might be a little paranoid. I might want credit when we're in a world of sand going through our face. Like, what does credit mean? But sometimes I'll hold on to credit, where maybe it's like the stand-up in me at clubs where it's like, oh, that's my bit, and that can be petty and I can be a dick, but I'm not full of hate,
No, I get it, dude. And that does get into weird places, with joke stealing and who did it first and all that stuff. And I used to be like the comedy police back in the day. I have a friend of mine. She's a really funny comic out of Austin. I was having a conversation with her because I see her going down the path I went, where you're looking at comedy like it's this pure art form. And then at some point you'll realize it's just a horror. And it's just, you got to understand that people are going to manipulate and do it. And the biggest thing you can do is just kind of like what you were talking about, which is like looking inside, right? Like, that's the only, like, if you want to be a real truth teller on stage, you have to really focus on you and not the drama all around you. You have to get into the point. And this applies to everything in life, is like, can you change it? Can you control it? If you can't, and you really know you can't, like, let's say you don't like how a comedy club is acting, you going and just going off isn't going to change anything at that club. That club is going to operate the way that club's going to operate. The only thing it's going to do is going to get you banned from that club. And then conformists are going to not want to interact with you because you're not conforming. And all they want to do is conform. That is their currency. That is what they have to offer, is that I can conform to your rules so that you give me an opportunity. So, it's like
etiquette and politeness is so important, because what you just said is right in the money. It's like, you can still be a truth teller and not go scorched earth in public. And I've done that, where it's like, everyone's a homo and a liar, and everyone's like, whoa, even though I have a point, I can just be like, there's ways to do it where you can show your point. Like, for example, I was making fun of how India is so bad for women. Like, if you fight with an Indian guy, they're always threatening to rape somebody. Like, they're like, oh, bloody buddy, I will fuck you, bloody buddy. They're like super rapey.
Yeah, dude, I've seen that video you're talking about. Where they're
oh, bloody,
fuck you, bloody.
No, and I
fuck you, bloody.
And some of my tweets about the Pajeets, like the Hindu Indians, went so hyper viral that I'm talking like hundreds of millions of views, to the point I'm getting death threats from like India. India's attacking my wife. It was like an international event. The Maldives had my back. The Maldives were like, because they're more Muslim, they're like, yeah, like officials in Maldives invited me to go there. Like, that's how much I'm making fun of Indians. And so, what the hell point was I just making? It was, about being polite. So a blogger just got like gang raped in India, and it's this big news, and everyone saw it. You guys seen this?
Yeah, she's like Brazilian. Yeah, she's like Brazilian, like 7 people. It was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so she was fine in Afghanistan with the Taliban. They were very respectful. Say what you will about Muslim communities, like they can be, you can feel like if I say the wrong joke, they're going to cut off my hand. But in general, they're like really respectful and non-rapey. Ironically, like everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people in the West think Muslims are these like rapey guys, but they're actually like super conservative with that shit. And so I was pointing all this out, and the Indians were like, "Oh, yo, fuck you, bloody!" And then I realized in March Gladness, I'm like, let's all stop and acknowledge the thousands of women every day in India that are not gang raped, And so I just made my point, but I don't have to be like, "Oh, these bobbleheading rapists," like I can be such an asshole where I call them like, I'm like, they're just eating cow shit. And, I'm just like so fucking mean. I'm like,
but here's what I want to say. Cause I agree with you, dude. It's very interesting what we can say and what we can't say and who we can tee off to and who we can't tee off. Now, I saw you did a show with Andrew Tate. And it was a discussion of, or what were you with Andrew Tate?
No, I didn't do a show with him, but we did start like, being friendly because I used to make fun of him a lot, and then me and him just started being friendly, and it's like, oh, okay, I guess we're cool. So props to him because I created a whole scale of how gay you are called the Tate scale, and 0.5 Tates is full penetration.
0.5
so
Tates, wow.
0.5 Tates, and then 1 Tate is full gay, and because I was making fun of like how, the hairless Bugatti leopard slippers, like I was just making fun of like the gayness of that. And so, and now he has a good sense of humor, man. During Black History February, when I'm, inventing Niggle's chicken, and all this stuff, he's like, bro, the black jokes are killing me. And he's like, I'm half black and I keep sending them to everybody. And we're laughing so fucking hard.
Yeah.
Because it's like I'm actually making fun of white people with Niggle's chicken. It's like, an all black experience for the white customer. It's like, we will give you a tray from the Department of Corrections, organic grape drink. It's like hand-picked menthol, but like we don't let in blacks, but it's a black experience, And so you get the joke unless you're like a crazy white lady, like what Sam was just talking about. Anyway, I'm rambling. So I didn't do a show with him though. No.
So you were talking about Sharia law and all that stuff. And I just feel like every one of these religions have been manipulated at some point. I mean, if you even study the Bible, they talk about the Schofield Bible and how it starts to introduce Zionism into Christianity and starts moving everybody that way. And you can actually follow over time how it gets more and more and more and more and more, and then it starts telling you like the Jews are the chosen people and all that stuff. And listen, my girlfriend's Jewish, her family's Jewish. I love them very much. They're all wonderful people. And it's just like, it just starts to get into this manipulation where you get like it's my bit about how everybody's retarded. Like every group has retards. And what happens is you got most of the group is good people. And then there's a couple retards. And then the whole group just circles the wagon and defends them at all costs instead of just saying, these people are retards. They're doing retarded shit. Like it's not me, it's them. And if we got into that, we would have a lot less problems now, I believe. I think
Jews are the worst for that. Like I do a bit about that too, where I'm like,
let's do that.
Yeah, where I'm like, we got whites.
They do that with Trump. Trumpers do that too.
Jews are super scared that they're so traumatized that there's going to be another Mean Mr. Mustache that they will literally back any Jew. So it's like, I did this bit about like, so you have whites. If you see my special, dude, you'd really like some of these bits about, because you're a truther. Anyway, and I dropped some hard ends. And I'm like, so with whites, you have whites and white trash. With blacks, you have blacks and then the hard end. I'm like, Jews, you have Jews and then you have Jews. I'm like, the only way it's derogatory is in your eyebrows. You have Jews and Jews. I'm like, and the reason their word is the derogatory word is they won't like cut off the bad ones. Like they're like, someone could be like, look, Epstein's literally eating a baby. And they're like, well, I mean, he was forced to. And like good people because of Spielberg movies and all this shit. They're like, if we acknowledge any of them doing anything, they're going to fucking take my deli again. And so it's actually kind of backfiring for them now.
I agree.
And that's why I've broken them up into deli Jews, war Jews, and sodomy Jews. So the sodomy Jews are like, everyone's got to fuck. You know, it's like you have like the Soroses, and then you have old Jake Rothschild. It's like, you know, we must bomb the Gaza. And then you have like all the other Jews that are just paying their bills, telling good stories, having families. And the deli Jews is how they hide. They're like, oh, so you hate Ari at the deli? And you're like, oh, no. It's like, okay, then we're going to fuck you in the ass and bomb Gaza. And you're like, what? You know, and that's like the shell game. It's the Jew shell game that like, that it's really coming to an end, I think.
Hey, Owen, what type of Jews were under the tunnels in New York?
Oddly, I think those are actually deli Jews. I think those guys are like, don't get me wrong. They act, I make fun of the deli Jews all the time. Like the sewer Jews. You know, like my bit was, it's like Stephen King's It, like Pennywise is in the sewers because they're wise with pennies, you know? And, and so like, you know, about how like everyone's pretending that there's no sewer. All right. But those guys are actually the more like they might be smuggling, currency. I think like they're sneaky as fuck. Don't get me wrong. I just think like the mattress and then killing a kid, it's just big jumps when you don't really know. But what I do know is those tunnels are definitely for something. And it's probably diamonds, gold, platinum, palladium, you know, stuff that you actually turn a profit on, you know, like they're not blackmail Jews. That's more like the Mossad Jews.
Well, yeah, dude, that's the Talmud ones. That's literally what it is. You get this book. It literally says Babylonian oral history. I mean, it's right there. And like,
oh, I got the book. I also have the encyclopedias from '68 that doesn't have the Holocaust in it. I mean, maybe Britannica, right? I mean, full of hate. Look up the letter H.
Okay. Hey,
no, I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying it wasn't branded yet. So what's the persecution? Of course, it's like Roots. Roots didn't come out till the '70s, and that's when every black Jew was like, they just want to hit me because they're dicks. And you're like, yeah, I mean, you might have tried to rape the landowner's wife, right? And it's like, no, they just hate strong black men. I'm like, did you just watch Roots? You know, and then you produce Roots, and it's just a bunch of Jews, you know?
Yep, I know. I get it.
I'm not saying that Holocaust didn't I'm not saying that there wasn't persecution. I'm just saying the branding. Like there is a brand where it's like Roots was a brand. Like, hey, blacks, this is your history. Look, Kutna Kinte, good guy, whipped for no reason, right? When that it did happen in times, but like that's not your whole history. And if you perceive yourself that way, like you're going to be mentally enslaved. You know, that's what Ye said. Me and Ye got along great because he's like, slavery's a choice. You want to be a slave. You don't want to worry about anything. You don't want to pay your bills. Okay, we got something for you.
I think that slavery, I think that all these things are used to control people that want, like, I've grown up, I've gotten to the point where I believe people need 4 things in life. They need food, shelter, clothing. We all know that. But the fourth thing they need is purpose. We really do need purpose. It's why we get up in the morning. And if you're born into luxury or you're born into crippling poverty, right? And you don't have the drive to make something for yourself, the best thing to do is to just kind of take up this like mantle of I'm going to fight this windmill that is oppressing me. And it's just like you need you need to be defined by this kind of cause you have. It gives you a reason to wake up in the morning. And it's easier to explain away why you are where you are based on your actions than to say somebody's holding me down and somebody's doing this. I mean, like I have friends of mine, Jamar Neighbors, like in foster care, killing it in comedy right now because he fucking strapped up his boots and he went to fucking work. And he didn't cry about everything. He just went to work. And we see it over and over and over again. Those who go for it, great things happen. Those who just kind of sit back and numb out, nothing happens. nothing happens. The universe rewards those who go and attack in life. That's my humble opinion. And it's just like, I'm functionally illiterate. You know, I'm doing the best I can. And like,
Yeah, and
I just
serving
went,
others too. Yeah.
yeah. And that's
Yeah,
kind of
like thinking like, what am I like? I want to make them laugh and be as interesting as possible. And people will like you for that. If you're like, man, I'm not even going to talk until I get an apology from that one comic who fucking said I was a homo, you know? I'm not going to get, I'm not going to cut my grass. There was slavery 400 years ago. So somebody tells me, you know, like that. That's why it's so funny. It's like that. And the funniest thing is, man, this is why I know the Jews aren't in control, is because I know it cripples them too. Like they might be using victim consciousness to hide and get stuff, but it's like really damaging. They're not having a great time. And I think old Jake Rothschild and a bunch of inner city blacks actually have a lot more in common than they want to admit. You know, they had absent dads, overbearing moms, victim consciousness, cycles of violence, childhood trauma. I mean, it's weird how that is because, like, I'm not impressed by opulence. Like, I don't, whether you live in a castle or a trailer, like this barn that I'm in right now, my whole family lived in for like a year and a half and we loved it. It was like cozy. It's 400 square feet where we built our house. So I don't, you know, I'm not impressed by lavish luxury. I look at like, you know, the cycle of it, and the Rothschilds are very traumatized people. And so I think that's one reason why they have such a fascination with black culture. I think they relate to it. It's weird, dude. It's like that high level of quote unquote Jew is they always have a dad that was like always at work, always like whacking off, always gone. He wasn't in prison, but he wasn't there. Like the Jews I know that are the best dudes had a dad that like taught him stuff or played catch with him or something like that, versus the ones that are like working at pharmaceuticals. Yeah, yeah. It's just about family.
It's like, you know, if you don't have a mom and dad, and not everybody's blessed with that, and you do the best you can. But those who do, like, you just see let's just put it like this. The demographics that do the best, which are Asians, Indians, Jews, have the strongest nuclear families of all the other demographics. There's a reason for that. And then you look at the psychology of what was done. You know, it's, again, I have this theory that the black people and Irish people are very powerful people, and that they've just been annihilated through culture. They've been annihilated. So when you look at like how they look from the outside, it's constantly chaos. I mean, Irish are known as drunk soccer hooligans, and they wear it with pride. That's the craziest part. They wear it with pride. And I'm like, you guys are most likely descendants of Atlantis. And there's a real argument for that. I've watched a bunch of videos, done a bunch of research into it, and you guys are most likely Atlanteans. And like, look at how you act. Look at, you know, you had the Catholic Church come in and commit genocide against you, and now you celebrate it as St. Patty's Day. Like, it's like the same thing with the M word. It's like this inversion where you take this thing that is so really traumatizing and you celebrate it. And it's like, that's the biggest cucking of them all. It's like,
bro, 100%. And I'm with you on Ireland. Ireland was never conquered by Rome. And it's one reason they were so mistreated. And I think black lineage actually has some real power, like certain types of black. And it's so funny because I always mock what they have pride in. That's why I do the N stuff and the bike theft and all that, because it's bad behavior. Same with Irish. I do tons of jokes about how they drink their own piss and they, you know, all that stuff. And the irony is like black Muslims and me get along great. They're like, yes, that type of black man is off the path, and you are right to mock his dirty behavior. And dude, I get along great with like the blackest dudes because I'm mocking people being like, it's great we're like little kids that like destroy society and will never be anything. And I actually think that there is a more proud history of blacks in America that has been, yeah, dude, I'm the same way.
The Moors, dude, the Moors
Yeah,
The,
yeah, yeah.
the
Like
history.
there's a type of black. Don't get me wrong. There is a type of black that's a little wacky, and I don't know where they come from, but like there is a type of black that I do think they have been like their memories have been kind of wiped, and they come from something glorious. Same with the Irish. I'm with you, dude. Like half of my lineage is Irish, and they're like I'm 6'8". Like that part are like giant Irish dudes that, you know, and a lot of them are sick athletes too. And no one wants to admit that. That like a lot of these Irish dudes were like legends. And Freud said that the Irish are the only group impervious to psychotherapy. Like you can't mind fuck them. You're like, oh, you want to bang your mom and kill your dad. They're like, oh, you know, my mom does the best. Oh man, yeah, my dad can be a real fucking piece of shit sometimes. And they're just like, yeah, don't you want to kill your dad? It's like, oh, you know, I punch him in the face when he acts like a fucking cunt, but otherwise we could have, and they just can't be beat. And that's why the fucking grabblers get so, and there's a type of black that also can't be beat. You want to talk about sovereign citizens that understand straw man names? It's like, yo, that's Fuzz. It's like, no, that's Darnell Robinson. It's like, no, it's Fuzz. They know about all caps, straw man, citizen shit. Like they're light years ahead of a lot of people just waking up to how the fucking system works. It's like, no, the man's looking for Darnell Robinson, not Fuzz. It's like, never say your name of what you are to the people with a warrant on you. Like they know what they're doing.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. The hidden history of black people, Moors, the story of slavery,
Yeah.
and what they're told. It's like, no, most of you guys were already here. And you guys were a shipping empire that came in and whooped the ass of South Italy and created Sicilians. And now you're being told that your own people sold you and blah, blah, blah. We get into that because, again, it's like victimhood. And you just have people that don't feel like they have any chance of changing their economic status. And they're like, well, pay me reparations. And like, God bless the people in San Francisco. The numbers they come up with, like, if you did the math today, it's 100,000 million. Okay, you're like, dude, I would say that exact same thing too. I would go so big that a small number makes sense to them. Okay, we can't give you 100 billion, okay, but we can't give you 20 million. So, okay, fine, I'll take that. And it's like I would do the exact same thing, but it's all victimhood. Now, I've been seeing you go kind of at it with libertarians. Why, where, when?
Well, I think the idea that you're just not going to have a government is absurd. And a lot of them won't acknowledge that. And so I'll get in these big arguments with, I think the government is in direct proportionality to the morality of the people. So it's like, so if you want a smaller government, you literally have to change your behavior and your community's behavior and not be reliant or dependent or ever commit public sin. And so that's hard. So what's easier is like, man, we just have to like kill politicians, or we just have to like, the government's bad. It's like, okay, well, without the government, you wouldn't have a regulatory body for the corporations and blah, 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 blah. And they don't, it's like, they don't understand what the government is. And so that's the issue I have with it is like, well, then what about all the people that want a government and insist other people, you know, because I'll see areas where the government falls and you get a government, it's called a mom and pop government called a cartel, immediately comes up. Yep. They now do the protection racket. They now enforce, they now farm people. It's like that fast. It's like, it's kind of like in a vacuum of government, you will have a government within like 5 seconds. It's like someone's ready to go. Like, here we go. And so I think the best way to be like libertarian is to actually change your behavior. Like I grow food and sell it for silver on my street. Like I'm walking the walk. I have a well. Like I'm like have zero debt. And I think in terms of gold and silver and seeds and community and all that. So when I'm telling people this, it's like saying that you can get rid of winter. It's like, and I'm like, oh, wear boots and a jacket. They're like, oh, you like winter? I'm like, dude, it's winter. You're not going to stop winter. And it's like, oh, Owen works for winter now. I'm like, no, I'm just saying that you can wear a jacket and boots. And they're like, oh, I think we get rid of winter. I'm like, It's coming, dude. It always comes. It's fucking government. It always comes.
Johnny, your thoughts on that?
I mean, I've always said that the only way to accomplish anything in this country, especially, is to do exactly what you're saying, to act locally, to think locally,
Exactly.
and to I mean, and to the extent you can be concerned with what's going on at the national level, you should be, but you shouldn't let it trouble you. You know, you shouldn't. I mean,
100%.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and I don't call myself a big L libertarian to any extent, but I do think that the federal government right now is much too big. It's overreached, and anybody that's fighting that fight to downscale that, I will support.
I agree with that, Johnny, and I really do agree with that. But I feel that there has to be a counter, because if you listen, if you put everybody to even zero, or even gave every person $1 million, within a certain amount of time, we'd be exactly where we are, because there's people who are smarter and they would just figure out how to game the system, and they would just manipulate everything. That's so ultimately what a government should be, is the counter to giant corporations. But because they've figured out how to manipulate government, we now actually have we have fascism. We have full-on fascism right now. The government and big corporations limiting our rights. That is the definition of fascism. And
go ahead. Sorry, I didn't. No, go ahead.
No. I mean, like, that to me is like that is where we're at right now. What are your thoughts on it?
So sometimes fish don't know they're wet. So it's like, one time there was a fight in California where a bunch of landowners were like, the taxes are too high, and they really did a stance for property tax. And what the state did is they let everyone out of the mental institutions. This is in the 80s. No one talks about it because it's pretty hilarious and crazy. And then communities just got ravaged because they were like, okay, here you go. How do you guys want to deal with 100,000 hard ends? Here you go. And so at that point, and so
which they did COVID, by the way, as well. They did that.
What's that?
You remember with like, oh, we got to release the prisoners because of COVID. And you're like, again, this gets into the demoralization campaign and trying to get martial law. Go on. Sorry.
Well, I actually have a solution that I've been called a lot of names about it. Because if people want to have the conversation about, like, what do you do with all these people? Well, there's a thing called farm labor, and you don't own them, but like they're not allowed to like leave, and they grow a bunch of great crops like cotton, and you know what I'm saying? It's like, if people want to talk about prison reform, or they're like, okay, prisons are bad, and I agree they are bad. Like, I swear to God, I think someone gets caught trafficking heroin, 30 lashings in the public square is better than 5 years without your kid, right?
100%. Yep.
Yeah. So like, okay, you're punished. You're in the public square. Everyone knows what you did is wrong. Now go back to your family and don't do it again, or you'll get more lashings. Or, I don't believe in like long-term incarceration. But at the same time, there are people that are super duper dangerous, and they're like tons of them. And now, a lot of it has to do with childhood trauma, blah, blah, blah. But when people say we got to get rid of the government, it's like, well, what do you do with all these people? And so me and my brother, way back in the day, we would do something called tree hab, where my brother's a tree guy and I would do the grounds work. Like, I'm not skilled, but dudes fresh out of Afghanistan, on heroin, good guys, but like troubled, we'd put them to work, or my brother would put them to work. And it worked way better than rehab. It's like tree hab. So it's like, talk about purpose. It's like, we have to cut down this tree, chop it up all day, and then you're exhausted and you don't want to poison yourself. So like, I would
it's hope, dude. It's hope.
But
work gives men hope.
Think about, you get 100,000 acres somewhere. You get all these dudes that are like felons and in prisons and all that stuff, and you put them to work to do something productive, and you treat them fairly, and you're not abusing them. But like, that's an actual solution to like some of the government overreach. but then you're immediately called, oh, you want to bring back slavery, you're a racist. I'm like, it's not about the color of their skin. It's like, imagine if you want to really reform stuff and you're like, okay, you get caught stealing, you get whipped. You get caught again, you got to go to the farm. Great. I'll have those conversations all day, but people saying we got to like shrink the government. I'm like, same with end the Fed. It's like, oh, we got to end the Fed. Unless you have another monetary system, like 100 million people would just like die. So it's like, yeah, let's start using silver, like mail each other silver and let's start thinking about silver. But it's like, you know, cutting out the tumor without like realizing what would happen then is, that's why people say I'm like a statist and a bootlicker. I'm like, no, I'm just saying what would happen, you know?
No, and you're right. I think if they actually put them to work, maybe they wouldn't want to go back. I have a lot of not friends, but I know a lot of people that go back. They go back to jail, as in like I never wanting to go back. I think if I went once, that's it. You never go again. They go back as in like I don't care.
Well, that's
it's fun. They get to hang out.
Yeah,
it's fun. They get to hang out. They get to meet the other homies. But if you put them to work, I guarantee you, if they sweated out a full 8 hours of actual farm work, I don't think they'd want to go back and be like, oh, I get to hang out with the homies again. No, you don't.
Oh, and they get community and they'd have more access to their family. And it's like, dude, I think a lot of the jails, there is a type of dude that just got to go. You know, like there's dudes that are like, they're sadists. They want to hurt kids. They want to hurt women. They're like murder. But there's a ton of dudes that are just like physically acting the way a lot of corporate executives do with money, where they're like, they're violent and they're like brutal, but it's like, it's how they're operating business. They're not just like twisted evil, you know, they're like reformable. Like you could take that aggression that can make someone like a thug gang guy, and you could turn it into a productive business. And that aggression and that like, you know, like how those dudes can be really quick. If you make that positive, they could actually be productive members of society. And it's like, they need socialization, they need community, they need purpose, they need a physical thing to sweat it out, like be respected, you know, be rewarded. That's why a lot of dudes are drawn to Islam in prison. And then they get out and they're given more like productive things to do. Because without that, you're right. Why not go back to prison? My friends are there. The yard's cool. I work out. Like, you know, I know what to wear every day. I know they bring me toothpaste.
Oh, no, you saying that exactly. You saying that. I know what to do every day. That's what they say. When they get out, there's too much freedom for them.
Too many
My
options.
homie says, I have too many options. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to work. I don't know what to eat. In jail, it was every day I knew what to do. And some people love that life. He literally says, I don't mind it.
They love it because, like, dude, people drown in options. Like when the Berlin Wall fell, there's a bunch of people in East Germany that went into like a grocery store with like 100 types of toothpaste, and they literally had a seizure. They're like Colgate Fresh, you know, Trident. They like don't. It's not freedom of unlimited nonsense options. Like that's one reason why I don't like I wear the same stuff every day and I do the same activities. Like I live a lifestyle that's almost more like a prison than what people think. It's like every morning I wake up at the same time. I feed the animals. I milk the animals. I say hi to my kids. I work on my stream. I go to the post office because like I don't trust the internet. All right. So like my day is regimented. I don't leave. I work, I think, and I love it because like with all those aspects of my life taken care of, this is what I do in the morning. This is how I get food. This is my only woman I have sex with. These are my children. It's like now I can see patterns in the world and I can like pursue my craft so intensely. And yeah, that's why I understand prison. I did a bit when I was 19 in college about how I wanted to go to prison because when college is over. I'm like, they have a meal plan and health insurance. I'm like, take my laces and belt. I'm home. These are my homies. Like I saw that when I was 19. I'm like, the regiment of prison almost mimicked college where like you get let out. It's like, you can do anything you want. It's like, well, I'm like shutting down now with options, you know? And that's why marriage is so good for men because you're like, think about how much time you waste. Like, oh, is Brittany around? Oh, what about Tina? Oh, is she being a bitch? Oh, I can meet you out. Oh, but it's like, versus you just love one woman, you build with that woman and you grow and grow and grow. And that's why like I look at something like slavery and I'm against abuse. I'm against ownership of a man's soul. Like I don't believe in any of that, but like giving men purpose, regiment, honest work, breaking cycles, getting them out of the street, getting them out of that, I think would be, and I think one reason why it doesn't happen is it would be too good for a lot of these black men, and then there would be competition. And then you can't keep them in the projects like, under watch and key like that. I think there is an actual oppression happening, and it's not
100%.
Yeah.
But it's also this. It's like I have this belief that we come here with a purpose, right? Like we have like a kind of a life mission statement, and that we live in a haunted house, and some places are more haunted than others. And your job is to figure out where you live and if you got to get out of there. And that's why when you see, let's say, somebody become very successful in the inner city, what do? They immediately move out.
Yeah.
They immediately move out of the haunted area to a not haunted place. That is your job. You can march all you want, but like that area is what it was. Even if it, let's say, it gets better, it will eventually revert back to what it was, because that is this area of the haunted house. That's my humble opinion. And it's like, if you look at like where there's all this war, like where like whatever country's constantly in war, maybe that is that area. It is a haunted area. You're born into that to figure out how to get the fuck out of there. And that's my humble opinion. So it's like, like I say this all the time, your job isn't to change the game. Your job is to beat the game. And then through beating the game, you show others how to beat the game. And then the game adapts to you.
Exactly.
Well, it's like comedy, right? It's like Dane Cook figured out MySpace, and then we all copied him. And then someone goes, "Oh, dude, I'm not just gonna do MySpace. I'm gonna start doing podcasting." And then Andrew Schultz comes like, "I'm not only gonna do podcasting. I'm gonna do YouTube. I'm gonna cut my set. Bang, 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 bang." And then here we are. That is the model for success right now. And nobody's trying to. When I have people like, "Oh, I'm writing this script to sell," I'm like, "Where are you from? Like 2005? Like what are you doing?"
Yeah, dude, it's so true, man. It's like, and sometimes being like really early, it's like people just think you're crazy. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like, comedy is metaphysical, and you can do it anywhere. So we can crowdfund land, put up a tent, you can shoot it with cell phones and edit it, and now you can market it to China. People are like, "Dude, did you eat a pot brownie with Joey Diaz?" I'm like, in 5 years, you'll see, dude. I'm like, because debt. I'm like, okay, theater licensing and debt to banks is a choke point, as you pointed out. So like, let's say everybody pays $400 for a ticket. You use the money to buy 33 acres of land in Missouri, which is exactly what we did. We have a festival with no debt, hire local cops to be security, so there's no issue with government, who had a blast, and then I tape my last special in a tent that looks like Netflix quality and have no overhead, and it's like a community-based thing. And so, yeah. And then people are like, "Oh man, Uncle Joey really fucked up your head." I'm like, okay.
It was a funny moment, bro. But...
Oh, super funny. No, I'm not. That's the irony, is like, I didn't even think it was a big deal. I thought it was a funny story. Like Joey Diaz gives me a star of death. I get so unbelievably high. He starts resembling like a demon, and I just leave and I don't come back. That's and I was high for like 2 days, but I didn't go crazy. It's like,
listen, when you see it before everybody else and you point it out, people think you're crazy.
Totally.
And then again, it gets into this thing where it's like, "Oh, you're not crazy. You're just beating the game." And now everybody starts to see it. Now I see conspiracies on every podcast, and I'm like, great. The more the merrier. Get the word out.
That's the attitude.
That's great. It's the more the merrier. But just like we did on Broken Sim the other day, I'm like, I don't want to be in Hollywood. I get asked all the time to do movies and all that stuff. I have no interest. I mean, if it's a doc about comedy, I'll talk, or even a doc maybe about conspiracies, maybe, I don't know, but I have no interest in acting, none. So I don't want into the system again. I just want my friends. When I was shooting this special that I just shot on Sunday, and tickets were slow for a short time, and of course I'm overthinking it, but I'm thinking about all the friends to invite, and I realized either my friends all moved away from LA, or they just kind of, or a lot of them thought I was a crazy person and they're not really in my life anymore. But now that everything we've talked about is coming out and everyone's like, yeah, it's right there. Just I want to be friends again. I would like to be friends
Yeah,
again.
that's how I am too, dude. That's how I am too. I'm just like, and then I think about like what I've done. Like, why did I have to go so nuclear on some dudes? And it's like, why can't I just be the chill guy that like respects some of the things they've done? You know, like I can be that guy. You know, and like I don't know what people face. I don't know what pressures they're under. You know, I'm just gonna try and not take shit personally because it's like imagine how hateable Dane Cook would appear if right now he's like, MySpace was me. And everyone's like, dude, thank you. And you were rewarded for that. And we're way past that now. It's like, yeah, but none of you would be shit unless I was on MySpace. And I don't want to be that guy about like conspiracies or like pointing out control structures or the trans kid thing or anything that I've done because it's that there's like a weird ego in that where I'm like, but what about me? And then like my life is gone well. I mean, it's like
you're winning.
I feel like I got a head start. That's how I view it now, where it's like, okay, well, now I'm seeing people getting canceled from theaters, like normal comics. You know, I saw like Jim Florentine and some like normal guys get kicked out of Seattle. And I'm like, and then I see other people that are like having issues with payment processors and they have that fear that I used to have. And I'm like, oh, I already know how to get around all this. So I should just be like a good shepherd and not like some asshole, you know, where I'm like, oh, you can do this, this, this. And if people call me crazy, that's fine. I know I'm not, you know.
If you would have that mentality back in the day, do you think you would have somehow found a Netflix special? Do you know what I mean? Because you kind of went like crazy. Do you think if you would have this mindset now of like, hey, I don't have to burn every bridge there is, do you think you would have?
No, because they were done with me once I found the way out and I went against the agenda. And so they were always trying to gaslight me into acting crazy. Because if you go back and watch my old streams, even some of the ones that I know Sam thought were like I was going a little nutty, and you rewatch them now, I'm the same guy. I just have a little more fear in my eyes, but I'm a little more like, I'm still just like, all love to the Jews. I'm not saying to kill them, but like, okay, Ice Cube is owned by, you know, and I'm just like, so they weren't letting me back in. But the thing is it's not about them. It's about like everyone else that is like, why do you got to be such a dick to people? It's like Joe Rogan, for example. He influenced me positively in a lot of ways. He was like revolutionary in the podcast world. Like, why do I have to be such a dick? Because like our third episode didn't go well and I thought he was being sneaky. Like, why do I have to go nuclear? Like, why do I have to make fun of his height for 5 fucking years? Like, am I crazy? You know? And so that, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I think once the calls are in, like Owen's out is one thing and that's fine. But I don't have to appear like an animal. You know, it's so funny. It's like what a lot of blacks face. It's like, yeah, you're from an impoverished background and yeah, you didn't know your dad, but you don't need to punch an Asian in the face and take their money. Like, that looks crazy to us. I tell that to Muslims. I'm like, don't promote anybody committing suicide or being bomby at all. Because like, I know Gaza's getting attacked. I know what you guys go through, but like, it just looks bad. And so I have to own that about myself. But no, they weren't letting me back. And I think, well, I don't know. Now I'm getting people like hit me up. Like they know I have an authentic audience and it's large and it's like, they probably want that somehow. Like they probably at some point will want to be able to.
That's what I say, dude.
Yeah.
You got to get undeniable. You got to get so big that they want your audience. That's the key. Again, talking to my friend in Austin, I'm like, don't get into this bullshit drama shit. And I'm telling you that because I used to get into that. I used to be the comedy police and like people would steal jokes. I'd get in their face and I'm like, and then nobody wanted to work with me. I'm like, I should have just, even though the mechanism for what we do now wasn't established yet back when I was super young in LA, because like if you weren't doing the Tonight Show or you weren't doing the good luck. If it wasn't for Mitzi Shore saving my life and giving me spots at the store, we probably wouldn't be having the show right now because I wouldn't even be here. So the key is to create this following, to serve your audience, to serve your fans, to let them know you're loved and grow that base so that they want your audience to come and see your to come see their podcast. Like I remember I was doing a really wonderful club in Cleveland called Hilarities, and they booked me, and they were very nervous, they told me, about my crowd. My crowd came in, and they were like, they're the nicest people, they're respectful, and they're drinkers, and they're giant tippers. And I'm like,
100%. Yeah. Dude, I've had that too, where people are like, I'm just scared of your white supremacy cult crowd. And I'm like, and then they'll see them and they're like, is that guy Samoan? Like, oh, that's a black guy. Oh, wow. Everybody's super nice. No one ever fights. And they're all like really wonderful people. And I'm like, yeah, dude, the irony is the worst behaved people are the system's little minions, you know? And I'm like, I get like 60, 70,000 listeners a day, but all of them are on alt platforms that you have to find. Yeah. And so they're all real people. And you'll see like, you know, a YouTube video like, oh, 2 million listeners. I'm like, how much of that is autoplay, bots, nonsense people, blah, blah. I'm like, I got real living people that are like, every day they listen to me. And then when they go out, they're like the nicest fucking people, because like, I think comedy draws high IQ people, because like low shitty people they can't register a joke. Like they don't even know what a joke is, so they won't like you. So like a lot of comedians actually draw smart people with a good sense of truth, because if you don't have that, you don't even know what a joke is. You're just like, why did the chicken cross the road? What are you, some kind of fucking bigot? You know, you're like, you know.
Well, you know, it also gets into like I'm watching friends of mine wake up, and when you first wake up, you know, you want to save everybody because that's what you think you're supposed to do. You're like, you're on your horse, you're yelling to, you know, the lizard people are coming, the Babylonian bankers are coming, and people are like, what's wrong with you? You're like, you don't just see it, I'm trying to save you. And then you just start clashing with people. And then over time you start to realize that, what am I doing? Like, you know, it's even God says not everybody's going to make it to heaven. You know, it's like those who see it and understand it are the ones who will make it. And like even people in my family who I love, like I would step in front of a bus to save them, think I'm a crazy person and don't want to listen to me. I can't save them. I can't, as much as I want to, as much as I want to shake them and go, listen to me. You know, I'm right. Stop doing this, and this. Can't do it. Everyone's on their own journey.
It's like, and also like, what are you waking them up to? Is it a dream or a nightmare? And so it's like one thing that I've really focused on is like castles and airships, the good, the true, the beautiful, persistence is fertile, a hill to grow on. Like I'm always trying to use language that's like, oh, this sounds better than that, versus like, they're going to fucking get you, you know? And so that's what I try to do. And also
solutions.
Yeah. Solutions-based stuff. And our world is more hopeful and our world can be navigated. And so it's like, I find that interesting. And yeah, I totally relate to you about that, that's, oh, like for example, one thing that I've had to work on is how I can view, how I can appear to other people. Like sometimes I forget, like, I was going at Louis J. Gomez because I thought he was being sneaky with me. And I'm like going at him like, oh, that's why you won't have me on your show. And then we had a phone call and it turns out I was totally wrong. And I like made a big video apologizing to him. And then I started thinking like, yeah, I totally can look crazy. Like I got a bunch of goats. Like to me, that makes perfect sense where it's like, I want to own my productivity. I want to imagine if you're just like a normal dude living in a city and you're like, yeah, remember Owen Benjamin? I did a shot with him and Nick Swartzen at this club. Yeah, he's a good guy. What's he doing? He has a bunch of fucking goats now, like a herd of goats. And he's not allowed anywhere, and he just won't stop saying the N-word. It's like, of course that can sound crazy. And sometimes I forget that. I'm like, oh, you just want to silence me because the system, you're scared. And blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, man, like 15 years ago, if someone told me like, oh, SamTripoli just got a bunch of fucking goats, I'd be like, is he doing sacrifices? Like, what the hell is that? Like, I never had.
I'm with you. We gotta get you and Dave Smith to be friends and lovers again.
Yeah, and I said I did a shout out. I was like, man, Dave was always a good guy. I just like when people went like radio silent on me, I would be like, I have a great story to tell. I was right ahead of the curve. I'm actually doing anarchist shit, even though all these guys talk a game that I'm actually doing. Why doesn't anyone want to talk to me? But then I would act a little aggro, and maybe that was the behavior that turned people off. And that's why I got more self-accountable, where it's like, he's a good guy. I've always known him to be a good guy. Like, why am I being a dick? Like, why am I, perpetuating my own misery with victim consciousness,
This is like, I learned this in recovery, Owen, and it's like the most black belt level. And I'm saying this to you because I this is something I really try to work real hard on, because I deal with a lot of stuff that you go through, and that is like, the truth is that someone else's opinion of me is none of my fucking business. And
That's interesting.
I go where I'm wanted.
Yeah. Totally.
And,
dude.
if you don't want me to come, like every time I do a podcast, people are like, dude, that was great. I didn't have to do anything. Like you've done interviews where you're like trying to pull information out of people, and it's not a good interview. And then you have somebody who comes on there and they can just go the whole time. That makes our life easier. This is an easy interview to me. Because you can talk for a long time. That's a blessing. If they don't want us, then there's a million podcasts that do. And yeah, it'd be great to be on some of these bigger podcasts because it helps our reach and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's like, I don't want to go on anything where they really don't want me.
Totally.
We had a guest on. I don't want to get too deep into it, but we had a guest on, and it was a fun interview, and I was supposed to do their interview, and then they canceled the interview, and then they've never rescheduled the interview. And I hope down the line to do the interview. But if it never happens, I don't care. I have 90 podcasts. I'm podcasting out of my asshole. I don't even care. And if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And the reality is like, you were right, I was right, and they were wrong. And maybe they just don't have the ego to admit it, or they're trying to still work in the system, and to admit that happened, it might not help them down the line.
Yeah, a lot of people are financially afraid, and I get that. Like when you were minding your podcast before, it was almost like we were both right in different ways. It was like if I was to rethink about that, when you're like, yeah, but you got to make a living, it's like you were talking about your dad and all that. And I'm like, no, the grabbler must be mocked. And we both had a point. It's like, if you can't provide for your family, and if you're like genuinely afraid, and you think like, okay, why am I going to take this massive risk and not be able to provide for my family? Like, I get that. And so there's levels to it. Like, and then there's the guy that's like, oh no, he's going to ruin my thing, and he's going to like point me out, and I think that's much rarer than I originally thought. I think a lot of people are like, but if I'm not on YouTube, what the fuck am I going to do? Like, I'm fucked. And okay, like some people just think that way, especially a lot of short dudes. Like they're always like really little dudes are always like, oh, if I don't suck any everyone's dick, they're gonna hurt me,
Wise words.
So huge and retarded that I'm just like, maybe I'm too reckless. Maybe I am a bit of a hard end, because I'm like, no, Valhalla, and everyone's like, you don't need to do this. Like you're getting kicked off Podbean. Like, who the fuck gets kicked off?
Yeah, like, it ends up. This is something I want to tell you. This is another thing I learned, and this is just something I'm trying to work on. I was listening to, I'm so old, I still listen to sports talk radio. Yes, right. I know it's bread and circus, but I grew up with it. It gives me, I'm so out of everything that I'm just enjoying just something.
Yeah.
And I was listening to this guy, Doug Gottlieb, and he was talking about when he first got into this big radio. He was on ESPN, and he moved to like CBS radio, and it was his first big interview because they were doing college basketball, and they were like, he wanted to interview, Coach K, and I guess you don't do that. So he's really pressing it, and his producer yelled in his ear, "What is the win? What is the win? What do we win from doing this?" And I go, and that really, really, really resonated with me. What? so many times I go, I should ask myself, what's the win from this? What do I get from this? Am I changing people's way they see the world or anything like that? Or am I just being a crazy person at that point? So I like to ask myself, what is the win at the end of the day? If I'm going to do this, what's the win from it? And maybe there is no win, and maybe I don't need to do that shit. And then we just need to figure out a different way to disseminate our information in a way that doesn't have everybody run like we're Godzilla in Tokyo.
Yeah, because a big weakness for comics, I think, is we're so comfortable being like, no, I'm going to get in the pigsty and I'm going to fight a pig, and everyone's like, why? And you're like, because it's a pig. Like this is what I do. And they're like, just stay out of the pigsty. And you're like, no, that pig needs to know it's a fucking pig. And you're like, what's the win? That's been me for so long. Like even in LA, like years ago, I remember I was out with these two girls and this dude, and this one chick was like acting totally crazy. And I was like, you're fucking crazy. And he was like, if they're crazy, you don't tell them they're crazy. And I'm like, no, but she needs to know she's crazy. And he's like, that doesn't work with crazy people. Like that's just going to get her mad. And I'm like, no, I'm going to let her know that she's a crazy bitch. And I do that all the time. I'm like,
exactly.
Oh no, I got to fight this. It's a heckler. It's like the comic in me, and we all should be recovering for something, like when you talk about recovery, like comics are all a little fucked up, and it's like, no, that heckler needs to learn. And you're like, dude, it's just a little, and the internet is like a nightmare for that mentality, because you're like, no, this guy's gonna pay, and it's like a fucking algorithm.
I find myself fighting people on Twitter that I'm almost certain are bots. They're not real accounts.
Or like the Indians or IDF people. Yeah. They're like,
totally.
In an office, just like, okay.
I used to take the heckler, like how I would deal with hecklers is how I deal with internet trolls. And then I realized it's the exact opposite.
Opposite.
It's just like they want that. They want my attention. They want me to block them. So I just mute them now, and I don't even care about them. This is the last thing I'll say is that, for me, like something I really apply in my life is like, does it need to be said? Does it need to be said right now? Does it need to be said by me right now? And I tend to find that by the time I get to that third question, I realize no. And like, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm kind of I like every time I start a new hour, I like to give myself a challenge, And this one's going to be like, can I look really deep into myself and find these relatable things that people can relate to, but talk about through the prism of how I see the world? Because like, I hate political correctness, and I think this could apply to you. I could be wrong, but you can tell me. That you tell me I can't do anything, I'm going to immediately do it.
Yeah,
you tell me I can't do it. You tell me you can't do that. I go, here is 5 jokes on it that slam in the room. And now I'm like, I kind of did it. I'm
in the same boat as you, man. I'm like, this next special, I'm not going to talk about a bike that was stolen in 1991.
Yeah.
Because my last special, some of my best jokes were about how, like, moms do psyops where everything's about distractions and snacks, and just like farm jokes about how I got so fat, my cow tried to like mate me, and I was the Moo Too movement, and like it's like really simple shit. And it's like, I don't need to do the big stuff. I'm like, I've done it, man. I'm like been in front of an all black room, like, nah, And so, yeah, I'm with you, dude. It's like to be in a position where you're not reacting anymore. And like the troll on the internet, you can't win. Like in real life, the heckler, you can dominate and then you win and he's quiet and everyone laughs. On the internet, there is no catharsis. Like they'll never be like, because there's no like communal reaction. No one's like laughing at him. Everybody, and he just keeps going. And you're like, what do I do? Do I just like fucking say a hard N,
That's your DEFCON 5. Hard Ed.
Yeah. I like loved it for so long. And now I'm just like, now my new thing is being super polite. Like in March Gladness, like this one dude was like, I hope the feds raid your farm and you're shot or something. I'm like, I hope you have a great March.
Yeah.
And they're just like, no, but seriously, we're going to get you. And I'm like, well, no one knows the future, but I feel I can hear the birds chirping.
No,
Yeah. That's how you do it,
That's so
dude.
funny.
Dude, and it's
Kill them
like,
with kindness.
it's pure power. They're like, I hope, blah, blah. I'm like, we all have hopes. And my hope is that one day I get my own airship. And they're just like, okay, I'm out of here. You're a dick.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, dude, it's crazy. Just, whenever somebody calls me something stupid, I just run with it and blow it up 10 times with even more ridiculous positivity. And I think that's kind of how you got to do it, man. And that's how you do it. He's Owen Benjamin. Owen, where can they find you?
Well, if anybody wants to write me a letter or support in any way, it's P.O. Box 490, Sandpoint, Idaho, 83864. And remember that the past is the future. So if people want to get a really decentralized, it's called the U.S. Post Office. And then I'm at Owen Benjamin on Twitter for now. They're letting me back on. OwenBenjamin.com. I'm Rumble.com. You can look Owen Benjamin, one word. And Bertaria Campgrounds if you want to go to next year's festival where I'll tape another special. And yeah, and I'm still working. It's unauthorized.tv. I think we'll have another payment processor. Shit, did that just end? Or no?
No, I'm
he's
trying,
doing a
I'm trying to show your
screen share.
website, but
Oh, cool.
yeah,
No worries.
there it is.
Oh, there's Noble Savage. All right, sweet.
Your website's really nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks, man. Dude, my team is insane, and they're all so like generous because like apparently I've like really inspired some people over the years. So like the dudes that I work with, I mean, their backstories are hilarious. Like when I'm getting like attacked, like, oh, there's a bot attack out of this country or blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, I'll just get help from my buddy who used to work for the NSA, It's just like, geez. So anyway, oh, look at me, such a young lad.
So full of hope.
So full of hope and just crushing. So yeah, there's Owen, conspiracy queries. How dare
How
me?
many specials do you have?
Probably like 7 or 8. I did 2 for Comedy Central, and then I did Feed the Bear, How Dare Me, Black and White, Noble Savage, Reluctant Warlord, Conspiracy Queries. There's been a bunch of them, man. I've been doing the self-producing thing for years now. Like Noble Savage was the first time I did any of those jokes live, and I wanted to like really challenge myself with that.
I like that, dude.
Wow.
What do you mean live? Like it's the first time you actually performed them? Like
Yeah.
Every joke in the entire set, I had never performed live.
Wow.
Stop. Yeah.
That's incredible. I love that, dude.
I'm like, nah. Yeah, now it's like it's almost hack. Like I'm almost blessed that like I don't need to do that anymore. Like the bit, but I wouldn't do it in a derogatory way. Like I did a bit where it was like, they say the New World Order is coming to get everybody, and they're replacing cashiers everywhere, and everything's robots. But in LA, there was so much stealing that they had to bring back cashiers, which gives me a lot of hope that the one thing the New World Order did not plan for was and then I just say the hard end that they're going to save the world because no one can stop them from stealing.
Oh God.
It's so like just shit like that, it's like, cause it's true. It's like in LA, there was areas that were like all self-checkout, and then just a gang of ends came in and showed everyone why we kind of need people to work the register. And the new Agenda 2030 went back a few years. So thanks, ends.
Do you think we're winning and we're losing?
I think it's personal, dude. I think like what you were just talking about, I don't think where we go one, we go all. And I think that, am I winning or losing depends on the day. Like March Gladness is feeling great, but overall, I think it's both at the same time. Me and my buddy, who's like this super genius finance guy, North Idaho has some pretty hilarious figures. We keep arguing about, are they getting more power and control and consolidation than any time in human history? Yes. Are they also losing all their levers of control? Yes. So it's like, yes. It's like at the same time, they're getting this infrastructure and consolidation that's, Tower of Babel shit. Like it's like inconceivable how much control they have in the financial world and politics and business and corporations and human behavior and breaking the family and blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, they're like destroying themselves from within. every generation, like you talked about how Jews have strong families, not so much these days. The sewer Jews are crushing, the urban Amish, but in general, those like big Jew families, if you go from the 30s to now, it was like 10 kids, no divorce. Everyone's working super hard. 5 kids, 2 wives. And now it's like 1 gay kid. Like they are slowly losing like their ability to even be, and not that I'm saying it's the Jews, but you know what I'm saying? Like the reptilian type control sector. And then people aren't listening as much. People don't just trust the media. People are decentralizing. People are coming up. They're dreaming about family. They're dreaming about homesteading. And like growing up in the 90s, I was dreaming about BJ's at Pearl Jam concerts. Like we weren't like dialed in to this dream yet. Like I was like, man, I can go see Pearl Jam and maybe get a beach. Like that was like high level thinking. And now people are like, okay, so how is control? Like what is currency? Like what is the Federal Reserve? Like what is a family? Like what do I want out of life? And I think that because things are getting bad, purpose is starting to come in again, where you're like, you're looking at people and you're like, wow, at least they have a family. Like how do these Mexican migrants all live in one house and have 10 kids and work all day? Like, is there something I can learn from that,
Well, he's Owen Benjamin. We enjoyed having him on. We got to do this more. Go to his website. Links are below. And guys, real quick, go one more. We'll talk about it in the next, but we're going to break down this episode. Thank you, Owen.
Thank you, boys. I'll see you around.
All right. What do you guys think?
Different vibe from the other Owen Benjamin episodes we've had.
Totally crazy. From the last time that he was on. It was great. And that's growth in all of us. And I hope people enjoyed it. It's like, it's just one of those conversations that you get on Tinfoil Hat. And I think it's great. And at the end of the day, it's like, who wins? It's like, well, is someone doing arenas and in all these movies, are they winning? Or is it somebody who just has 4 great kids, has a farm, self-sufficient, has a huge fan base, and is just living life, and you can't take anything away from them?
They're both winning. Depends on how you see it. Who do you want to be? Do you want to have a kid with 4 on a farm?
Exactly. And if you use the old standard, you could be like, oh, I wish I was in that. But then it's like, who wants that? I think there's a pressure that comes with all that other stuff where you got to kind of do things maybe you're not proud of or you don't want to do. So I think Owen's killing it in life. I think he's crushing it. And I think that's why you find him in kind of with the energy that he has right now.
Do you see
the guy's a force of nature?
Do you see yourself ever waking up early and feeding the animals? And
that's gonna be very hard for me. I think I'd like to live near Owen.
Childhood. That's called childhood for me.
I would like to live near Owen and buy meat off him.
There we go.
I don't know if I can kill animals, dude. It makes it very hard for me.
Well, you can. Most farmers aren't killing their own animals. There's like a local butcher who does that because that requires real expertise to slaughter and butcher your own animals to do it properly. You have to, and there's always somebody in the neighborhood who's an expert in that.
I couldn't even take them to slaughter.
Could you milk it? You can milk it, right, Sam?
I can milk, but that's about it.
Yeah, if you're the livelihood of your family, your girls dependent on that, you'd have no problem doing it. I can promise.
Quickly, a chicken. There goes the chicken. There goes. What your daughter's name? The chicken? It's gone.
Well, yeah. If you have one chicken, that's a whole different thing. But if you have like a bunch of chicken, bunch of cows, like several. But even if you have just a handful of cows, and it's the difference between eating and not eating. It's no decision at all.
Yeah. I'm with you.
I mean, dude, I've been reading those Civil War memoirs. Now I'm on U.S. Grant's memoirs, but you hear the horrible stories of these guys who are in these sieges, who they at first, they got through all their food. Then they got to the food that had spoiled. Then they rummaged around the town and foraged everything they could. And then once the town was empty, then they started eating the horses. Then they started eating the donkeys. Then they started eating the dogs and the cats. And then there's just nothing left. I mean, that's it, and you have to run up the white flag. But it's, you will eat anything if you need to, what I mean? Up to those guys in the Andes, humans. So yeah, I mean, agriculture, dude, we're meant to do that. We're meant to
Johnny,
kill and raise our own food.
So, Johnny, obviously, Owen Benjamin was a city boy at one point.
Yeah.
How long does it take to become like? I know it varies through people, but like, how 6 months living on the farm, it's pretty doable. A year,
I
it's a
don't.
long
It
process.
depends on who you are. I think. Yeah. I couldn't say.
Yeah, because
I couldn't say.
it doesn't seem easy.
I don't know if Sam it would ever take with Sam. I don't know.
What?
I don't know if you'd
What do you
ever.
mean?
That's what I was getting to. I was
think
like,
you
could
get a
Sam
little
ever
bored.
be?
On the farm. I think you get bored, man.
No, dude, this is why I do 90 podcasts to keep busy because the demons come dancing.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, my dad's that way, and he wakes up at 5 and
I like
works
working
nonstop. So yeah,
for all my faults. I like working. I like working. And
what do you think about his government take? I don't know if I because it sounds like what he's saying is that the government's become so big, there's nothing we can do about it. And with that attitude, I wanted to ask him, would you at least resist further expansion of the government? Is that worthwhile? Because it sounds like in his worldview,
I understand what you're saying.
In his worldview, anything that the government gets enmeshed in, to the point that it's almost irreversible, we should just let them. We should cede that ground, let them have it, and just worry about ourselves. And I'm not sure I agree with that.
Well, I agree that if you, let's say, completely destroy government, right, and we have no government.
Yeah, that's anarchy, though. That's not libertarianism.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm for limited government, but I'm also, you need to have something that can counter corporations.
Like in the Fed, saying we don't have alternatives for the Fed. We have, I mean, there are absolutely alternatives. There would be growing pains, but there have been growing pains in the past.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to go through growing pains. You're just going to go through it. And, it's like, I don't know how real this post was, but it was saying that the big libertarian guy in Venezuela, is that where Argentina, where they the
guy that was just with Trump a couple weeks ago. The president of Argentina, right?
That he's already plunged them 20% of the population into poverty. And it's like, yeah, now we got to figure out how to survive, how to make stuff happen. That's it, and it's just like, I was thinking a lot about this, Johnny, when you were bringing up the Civil War. Like, if war breaks out, do you think that they're going to go to these farms and light these farms on fire? Like, you can, if you're going to be off the grid.
That's what they did in the last Civil War. Yeah.
It's going to be crazy. Dude.
It's what Sherman did, dude, in the South. I mean, they just burned everything that could contribute in any way to maintaining an army and the people who support it.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Couldn't imagine that.
It would be illegal today. Yeah. It would be illegal today under international law.
Illegal to own a farm?
No, it would be illegal under international law what Sherman did in the South during the Civil War.
Yeah, but that doesn't stop people.
I'm not saying for that. I'm saying that he would be a war criminal by today's standards.
But this is when I believe, like, I wouldn't believe an American would do that to another American, like on American land. But then that's when Sam's like, they're not going to use Americans.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big thing that they're talking about.
Yeah, that's
look what Americans just. I don't think that at all. Actually, look what Americans just did to us. Ratting out people without masks, making us all get these, injections. Like, no, I think people turn so fast if they think it's the right thing, or if they think it's the expedient thing that will get them social credit, they'll flip on you. They don't. People do whatever, dude. They don't give a shit. Especially got army guys, which would be the ones executing those orders. They're trained to obey authority. You know what I mean? They're selected. No offense. I know some of you guys aren't like this, but a lot of them are, selected because they, fit well as a cog in a machine. So
that's what I think all those Chinese immigrants are going to be up to. Like, if that does happen, I do think that's who they're using for. Wait,
you think the Chinese immigrants would be the ones burning the farms? Really?
That would be used by like whatever side of the Civil War they're on. Yeah, they're going to use like immigrants are coming in. Because I don't know, as an American, if you're an American, like, how are you going to destroy, like, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Like you said, who knows? Who knows? During COVID, people changed up real quick. So who knows at the end of the day?
Well, I mean, like, what you're doing is causing maximum chaos. So we beg for martial law, and then all those people will be offed and they're destroyed. You know, listen, dude. What's it, Wisconsin, Kenosha? That is what will happen. That's what's going to happen. You're going to have law enforcement not do anything, and then the adults are going to come in with guns, and then that's how they're going to shut it all down. And chaos is going to break out everywhere, and that's what they want. I mean, the biggest thing is just none of this is natural. That's all I'm trying to tell you. None of it's natural. It's all AstroTurf. The U.S. government is behind all of this. The Babylonian bankers are funding this all, just like they did the Bolshevik War, just like they did Nazi Germany. It's all meant to destroy from within. That's what they're doing. Then they'll move to China, and they'll build China up, and they'll get China rock and roll, and then eventually they'll do the exact same thing to China. That's just how they do it. Maximum chaos. All right, guys, go to SamTripoli.com. Check out all my dates again. Like we said, I am in Morris Plains. Nope, I was in Morris Plains, excuse me. Flagstaff, Arizona, Tucson, California, El Paso, Texas. Those are all available right there. Summerfield. I'm doing a podcast with the Nephilim Death Squad guys. And then I'm doing stand up, and then yeah, that's it. So, and then Plano, Texas down the line. So we're putting together shows. Anything else, boys?
Hit that like button and subscribe.
Yeah, go hit SamTripoli.com real quick. I want to go hit SamTripoli.com, and then you could see all of our
It's going.
There we go. Go all the way down. I got to get that. Take it down. Go all the way down, all the way down. Guys, check out our gold and silver. Go up. Gold and silver at Wise Wolf, man. We're going to really be pushing that lately because I think it's important. Rife Technologies as well. Again, guys, gold and silver is how you're going to hedge against inflation. Rife Technology. It's great for your body and your soul. Same thing with the Aqua Cure hydrogen brown gas, and then Harley Ray with our promo code SWARM15. Candles, crystals, whatever you need, they're the best at it. And then we got Chemical Free Body, Tim James. It's what I use every day. I'm going to go take it right after this. The best supplements in the game, super energized. And then my boy Joel Staley. If you want to get in shape, he's helped me. He can help you as well. Anything else, guys?
Check out Broken Sim. The new one's out now, and it was a good one. Please subscribe to whatever audio podcasting app you're listening to this. It would help us out a lot. Thank you.
Also, just check out Doom Scrolling on Rumble every Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific time.
Oh.
And then check out Tinfoil Hat Live.
Let me get the audio. Let me get the phone number up there, too. Just give me a second on that, Sam.
Yeah, we do live phone calls, super chats. It's live.
And
So
I will be better next time. I had an emergency, so I was on my phone. So sorry about that.
If you want to call in, the number's 323-825-9010. You have 3 minutes, and then the voicemail just automatically cuts off. That's not our decision. So maybe time yourself on your phone, 323-825-9010. One more thing, Broken Sim, if you leave a 5-star review there, which helps us in the rankings, we will read it, whatever it says. It's within reason, so please help us out that way too. Thank you.
Okay, guys, go check out these highlights from my other shows.
Here's a clip from the latest Broken Sim.
So when Alex Stein was on Tinfoil, how did you come across him? How did he get booked? Do you remember?
He kept hitting me up.
Oh, really? Okay, that's funny.
And I said he was going to be huge.
Yeah, you could tell immediately. He's just hilarious. Yeah. And he's gutsy. He's not.
Yeah.
He doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
So here he is.
Alex Stein.
You don't know who you're about to speak to. The one, the only 45th president of the United States of America, President Donald Trump. Are you there, President Trump?
Well, of course, I'm happy that you're talking to the city council. I hear they're tremendous people, and I hear we're going to be bringing these shoes in. These are tremendous shoes. They're hotter than Nikki Haley in an Escalade. You know what I'm talking about? We want to see the children We want to see them wear the shoes and perform in the shoes and do a tremendous job in the shoes. Isn't that right? Isn't that correct?
Yes, President Trump, you making the shoes mandatory for all school uniforms in Plano School District would be great, and I think that would help the city. But I'm telling you, the mayor here is one of these woke mayors. He loves all the transgender stuff. As a matter of fact, he actually wants to put mandatory gender reassignment into the schools, state-sponsored.
Well, I think that's terrible. And, you know, the only person that I talk to who goes from man to woman, his name is Lindsey Graham. You know what I'm saying? He sits when he pees. But you can look at it and you can talk about all of these different things. I think it's a terrible idea what you're doing. And I think we should absolutely look at this mayor. I think we have to look at him. Maybe we have to replace him. Maybe we have to get rid of him like Chris Christie gets rid of a plate of donuts. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, he loves to eat. Okay, so President Trump, what is going on with Nikki Haley and her running for president? I mean, what's going on? These Plano people, I don't know. I think some of these board members support her.
Well, if they support her, that's interesting because she lost to somebody called Nota, you know, that N-O-T-A, none of the above. And it's terrible. You know, she is only good at doing things in the back of a car. I call it the escapade and an escalade, and she ought to be ashamed of herself. And if you support her, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. I have to say that. And I think if you're supporting Nikki Haley, you have a lot of other things to think about. You're probably crazier than the people who said white powder to Don Jr. You heard about that? They sent it to him. I think Hunter Biden was trying to send my son Neil. I think he thinks he's a pen pal, and that's not acceptable. We don't want to do that.
No, and President Trump, they tried to kill my biological stepfather in Russia. Are you going to get vengeance on my father? Tucker Carlson.
I got along very well with Russia. I got along very well with Putin, and we're going to get vengeance on Ukraine. They tried to do terrible things to Tucker. He's your biological stepfather. You look just like him. And we want to help him. We want to make sure that he survives. Protect Tucker at all costs. That's what we're going to do.
President Trump, they're kicking us out. Thank you, President Trump. These people aren't worth it.
So do you think that's an impression, or is that an AI thing that he's just timed a script to? I can't
tell. I think it could probably be impression because it was like well timed.
Yeah, it was really well timed. If it was, he rehearsed that a lot. Like he had it tight.
Yeah, it was good.
If it was AI, I mean,
it is good.
And then so then he showed up and talked to this mayor who's got these.
Oh God, it's so bad.
Cheating allegations.
Yeah. Go down. There it is. Up.
Wait, where is it?
There it is.
Is this it? Oh yeah, here it is. Okay. This is so
Alexander
funny.
Stein.
Oh my God, they must hate this.
He's doing the best.
Yo,
stuff,
Council,
dude.
it's me, Alex Stein. Hey, Mayor Johnson. I know a lot of people right now are criticizing you because you're going through a terrible divorce, and your wife Nikita is accusing you of sleeping with your staffer Mary Albana. And Mary Albana was your chief of staff, and then you went and paid her $100,000 after you. After she was your chief of staff. But what's funny about this is, like, I don't think it's bad. I think it's good because all the top politicians have cheated. Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky. So you hooking up with your chief of staff, according to your wife, not me, in your public divorce, this is good for your political career. I know you switched from liberal to Republican, and now you've gotten all the support, but you don't have to grab them by the pee. You know what I mean? You don't have to go full Republican. What you need to do is you got to respect your wife, but because I don't think Mary Albana will be a good stepmama, and you're giving her hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's ridiculous because, you know, I do think that cheating is bad personally, but I think for politics, it's probably good, Mayor Johnson, that you did this. And listen, I'm Team Nikita. You know I'm Team Nikita all day long. And you know Nikita is not lying because she had that Ring doorbell camera where she supposedly caught you with your chief of staff.
Everyone gets busted
and then you
on
had this
that.
relationship. According to you, you said that you'd done it a dozen times in your court proceedings. So this is all on record. You had Tim Rogers from the whatever that stupid magazine he's from, come and testify because he supposedly had inside information of your divorce. So this is really messy. It's just funny. You're typical of a politician. And now I understand probably why your hair is balding so bad, because you're probably really stressed. You're dealing with all of these, your staffer. You're taking your staffer to your house. You're sleeping with her. Not according to me, according to Nikita Johnson, your wife, the mother of your children that you do not respect enough. The same house where you put your little kids to sleep at night. You're taking your staffer there and you're sleeping with her. According to Nikita. This is not according to me. This is all in the court documents. So you're going through a messy divorce, and I just want to say that a person that would cheat on his wife that he has kids with is probably a scumbag, probably not a good guy. And if he would cheat his wife, he'd probably cheat the city. And then on top of that, after he gets caught cheating on the girl, then he goes and gives her $100,000 because Mary Albana runs a group called Adept Political Consulting. And so then you gave her $100,000. Maybe you gave her, and I'm just speculating this, I don't know, maybe you gave her the money so she wouldn't tell on you the fact that you guys were having an affair. I don't know this. I'm just speculating this. I'm just a concerned citizen worried about the mayor. But you know, I'm Primetime 99, so I always end with a song.
Give me the voice.
Nikita Johnson, Nikita, I know you miss Eric's Chiquita, but there's other bananas. I can be your manna. I will be the dad to your little babies. I'll be stepdad. So Nikita, call me. I'm going to treat you right. I'm not going to cheat on you, Nikita. I'm not going to sleep with my chief of staff. I'm a pimp on a blimp, Nikita, but I'm not a scumbag. So I'm doing this for you, Nikita Johnson. We stand Nikita Johnson. No cheating allowed. You're a scumbag.
God.
Alexander.
I mean, dude.
Dude, that guy. I mean, dude.
There are people you couldn't say that to, for sure.
I mean, he talks to everybody, dude.
I know, dude.
Dude, he's because he's a big dude. Alex.
Yeah. You
Alex
can tell.
Zero fear. Zero.
You mentioned Ring doorbells, and I wasn't going to bring this up, but have you seen? People have been seeing. This was a lightning storm, right? And people caught these on their Ring doorbell cameras. Green lasers going into the lightning storm.
Yeah.
Do you see that?
Yep, dude. It's weird,
there's
bro.
a freeze frame, and now there was a comment on this that I saw. That look, have you seen this? They're using a car-sized laser to divert lightning strikes. Is this Swiss company? On top. I'm sorry, it's on top of a Swiss mountain. And they're thinking that possibly might be this technology. As NASA battled to get its huge next-generation moon rocket to the launch pad in early 2022, it had to contend with some severe and ugly Floridian weather. And I guess this is part of an attempt to kind of control lightning with laser beams.
That's crazy.
We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Tinfoil hat.